Do you think getting a college degree of any sort, whether it's bachelor's degree, associates, is necessary for a creative in today's time?
So just don't burn bridges and just try to do your best to communicate honestly.
Do you think you have to be delusional as a creative to make it?
The short answer is yes. I happen to live 3 doors down from the artist I work for now.
Hey, welcome back to the Creatively Connected podcast. I'm your host, Chris Rippy, and today we are with a very gifted music video director, videographer, content creator, whatever you'd like to call him. We wear many of hats in this job that we do. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest, Thomas Eutzy.
Hello.
How you doing, brother?
Doing great. Thanks for having me, brother.
Glad to have you here. Me and Thomas met. We first linked up about this time last year. Actually, it was almost exactly this time last year. On set of Lil Man J content shoot. Thomas killed it on that shoot. All the content from that turned out absolutely fire. Thomas, I'll start off by asking you one question.
Yeah.
Do you think you have to be delusional as a creative to make it?
Yeah. The short answer is yes. But long answer is there's balance between everything. I was actually thinking about just what you have to do to become a videographer, or just do this stuff in general on the drive over here, and just been thinking about it a lot lately. And I would say yes, because we are not to make it too crazy, but we are in a 1% group, I would say, of people that are lucky enough to be able to work with country artists, musicians, whatever we do.
Absolutely.
And to an extent, there's a little bit of luck involved. But before you get that quote unquote luck or that opportunity, you have to have the mindset that you're going to make it no matter what, because it's rough, especially when you're first starting out. So for me specifically, there was about a 2-year gap after I graduated college where I really wasn't in the music video scene or even in the country space that I am now, because the opportunity just hadn't presented itself. So, I was working, doing a serving job, still trying to find whatever I could, shooting it for free, doing my own content, whatever it was, to just stay fresh. But I would say if you're not a little bit delusional about it and believing in yourself that you'll make it, you'll just you'll fizzle out, and you'll let the people that tell you, oh, you're not making enough money right now, or you're not gonna meet the right people. It's all about who you know.
Yeah.
Even if you go to school for it, which I did. So yes, definitely have to be delusional.
I agree. I think delusion creates the luck. When I first started getting good opportunities, the big tours, people are like, you're so lucky. It's like, okay, yeah, part of it, I did get a little lucky, but it was because I was delusional enough to even think that something like that was possible. And I credit delusion to a lot of my success. You mentioned something a second ago. You went to school for this. What did you study?
Yeah, so I got my degree in TV and film. So it wasn't a traditional film degree that you would see like a director or a cinematographer go to. It was just a normal school that had a mass communications, TV and film emphasis. Nice. So that's what my degree was in. It was TV and film. What
was the deciding factor? Because obviously now you're freelance, right?
Yes.
You classify as full-time freelance. What was the deciding factor after you graduated, not going and pursuing a corporate media job, like something in news media or TV, and then going your own route and doing freelance? What was kind of your thought process, and kind of break that down?
Yeah. So originally I started doing broadcast journalism. So I was kind of already in that space of news before I decided to switch to TV and film.
Okay.
And I realized that the corporate side of stuff, especially on the news side, was not for me, because a lot of the times there were opinions out there that I feel like I didn't align with generally, and I feel like my job would have been to, no matter what, tell that story.
Yeah.
And that's just not for me, and that's not what drives me creatively. This field in general is a field we do out of love for what it is. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So when I switched my career path or my major, I told myself, I said, you're doing this, but it's gonna be hard, and there's a good chance it may not work out. It may not work out, but I'm doing this because I love it.
Yep.
So Your question was, say it one more time.
What was the deciding factor to not pursue, the corporate media route and, quote unquote, use that degree and instead go the freelance route and work for yourself?
Yeah. The simple answer is I love music and I want to be happy in whatever job I do. Money, and I believe that money will follow if you just continue to, dig away at what you're good at and what you're passionate about. So that was kind of the main reason.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more because, I was working at a news and TV station, going after my broadcast and journalism degree during when COVID hit. And, obviously the news, it got very political during the COVID times. And going back to what you just said, things that you didn't necessarily align or believe in, you were having to report. And, there was just a lot going on in that. And I was grateful for that opportunity. And I thought that was going to be my career, working in news, because at that time that was a huge opportunity. But I started kind of thinking the same way you were, like, I want to do and tell stories and create on what I'm passionate about, on what I love. And while the news was a good opportunity, and maybe that would have led to other opportunities, maybe a job at ESPN, you never know. It's still, I wanted to break out of that and go my own route and do freelance. And it kind of sounds like you were in a similar boat.
100%.
Do you think getting a college degree of any sort, whether it's bachelor's degree, associates, is necessary for a creative in today's time?
Necessary? No. Does it help? Yes, because I think everyone's path is different. Obviously, there's some people that can go out and teach themselves everything that you can learn in college and through this stuff.
Sure.
But for me, it put me in a consistent space where I was working with other creatives. It put me in a consistent space of, okay, how am I going to better myself? Technically, like when it came to video and stuff like that. Right. And it also opened up the opportunity to do whatever. So I worked on film sets. I worked with, sports broadcasting. So I think
it opened up many doors.
It opened up a lot of doors and a lot of options for me. Not necessary. I mean, you see plenty of people out there who are super young doing it.
Yeah.
So it's obviously not necessary.
I think the networking skills you get, the opportunities to be on set, like you were saying, all come to you when you're at university or at a school, and you can't get those elsewhere. No, the school itself is not necessary. Some people might shun me for this. The classes themselves, the curriculum, I think is completely pointless. It's the opportunities and the life skills that you develop through that will carry on into it, that can help you have an advantage over someone who never went, that just was thrown out there. Not to say that they can't make it and be as successful or even more successful, but it definitely, at least for me anyways, I noticed that, like, when I got out of college, I was crazy good at networking, because in college all I did was party and talk to people. So it's like I honed in on that skill of communication, and that just carried over. So I agree. I think in parts it is not necessary, but it can be beneficial. But I think you can go be a very successful creative videographer, photographer, whatever you want to be, without the schooling. And that's coming from two people with a bachelor's degree.
Yes,
right?
sir.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
Same here. I make the joke all the time, I've never even seen my college diploma, because check this out. So I left the first my first tour ever. I got the opportunity when I was going into my last semester of college, and I took it. I left school still paying rent at a house when I wasn't making any money. Finished my last semester of college on a tour bus, traveling, going to mud parks, just like we were talking before we started recording. Yeah, my last semester of college was spent in mud parks pretty much.
Wow. Okay.
But so I make it through, complete everything. I go back to my college town in Bowling Green, Kentucky, the night before graduation. A tornado hits. Cancels graduation, tore up the whole city. Like it was a really bad tornado.
Yeah.
Didn't have a college graduation. I never walked across the stage.
Okay.
They sent the diploma, whatnot,
Mail,
weeks, months later, whatever. My mom has got it somewhere stored at her house. I've never physically seen them. I don't even know if it's real. They might
That's
have AI'd it. I
hilarious.
might not be a college graduate, so it's not necessary in order for success. Is the moral of the story.
Sure.
What's something that you did early on in your career that you would never advise a young creative to do? Could be anything on pricing or maybe communication.
Yeah.
Working for free for too long.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a big one. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people in our space would it's hard to get over that, find out where that hump is, where you're like, all right, no longer doing this for free, or even no longer charging this price
Yeah.
because I know my talents are worth more. But I mean, I would say a big one for me is don't do everything you can to not burn any bridges.
Yeah.
I think when you're doing stuff for free, and it kind of goes hand in hand with don't burn bridges, is there becomes a little bit of animosity, not just towards whoever you're working for cheap or for free, but to yourself, to where it's just frustrating. It's just frustrating because you feel like you've been working for so long, and
That can make you kind of take some steps back.
yeah,
in a
yeah.
sense.
So, and it can create like this, this tension between you and your career, or you and the artist or the client that you're working for. So just don't burn bridges, and just try to do your best to communicate honestly and reasonably.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't burn bridges with anyone. One, because you'll face the guilt of that yourself, like you're saying. But two, it's a small industry. It's a small world. People talk. Unless there's a absolute reason for that bridge to be burnt, and there are those times. But a miscommunication or a client rushing you and you taking offense to that, and there being controversy with that, that's not worth a bridge being burnt. If they want to burn it, let them burn it, and know that you were standing on level ground when it was burnt, and it was their decision.
Yep.
But someone I was talking to a couple weeks ago out on the road, they said the same people that you see on the way up, you'll see on the way down. The same hands that reach out on the way up are the same ones, that you'll see on the way down. And it's like, you burn those bridges on the way up and you're on the way down, they're not going to want to reach out and help when you're on the way down.
Exactly.
And, you make it too far down, and you might miss too many hands that are reaching out, and, the opportunity might not be there. So,
100%.
Yeah, definitely advise any young creative, you don't burn bridges, and just have a good reputation, because at the end of the day, that's what your business, as a creative, that's what your brand is based on, and that's the back that it's built on is your reputation. So try to always have a clean slate. You're not going to please everybody. There's going to be people that you piss off and that just you don't align with, but be cordial and know how to be a professional in a working sense. So
Professionalism is huge. That's definitely been a bit of a not to go off topic, but that's been a bit of a whole navigational thing for me, because I work very closely with the main artist I work with, and we're together all the time, and there's a bit of there's a friendship there, right? Yeah. And there's also a level of professionalism that you have to make sure you continue to have, so that lines don't get blurred, feelings don't get hurt, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you'll only continue to build relationships like that as your career goes on, and so you just got to know how to navigate that. So
absolutely. You're coming off of a big transition in your life over the last 5 or 6 months with making a move and getting to Nashville. What advice would you give to someone who might be in a city that's not so big and not so many opportunities for creatives, for videographers to shoot? Maybe they're not surrounded by music artists like we are here. Talk about your transition, moving to a bigger city, coming to Nashville, and how big of a role do you think that plays into a creative success? And what advice would you give to someone that's not in a big city that is still trying to get opportunity?
Yeah, I would contribute your location to as a big part of how many clients you'll get and how well you'll be able to network, and just how easy it is, the access to it.
Sure.
That's why I love Nashville and where I'm at right now. I was in Charlotte before, and like I said, That's where I met the artist I work for now, the main one, and I was lucky enough to meet him, and he had good connections in Nashville. But for someone who's not in a big city, I would say reaching out to other videographers and other creatives who are in big cities, or just other creatives in general, will help you build a network a lot more easily, I guess is kind of the word, but naturally too, because it's easy for creatives like us to sit down and talk and just like, feed each other information and make each other better, because we all want to succeed, right?
Sure.
So, most videographers out there, at least the good ones that I know, like Chris and like some other ones, I mean, it's just all about putting yourself out there. So, asking questions, creating a network through other videographers, I would say, is a big, big thing. I mean, I got a gig through, I don't know, do you know a videographer named Tristan Wall?
Tristan Wall, doesn't ring a bell off the top of my head.
So
I know Instagram is better than names.
Yeah, this is a great example, I would say, because he is a videographer I followed who's based out of here in Nashville. I've seen his work through some other artists, and I followed him on Instagram. He didn't follow me back, but I respected his work, and I was like, I want to continue to follow and see what he does. And one day he posted on his Instagram, I think this was like 3 weeks ago. He's like, hey, looking for someone to do video work out in Key West for 3 to 4 days or whatever. And, and I was like, he may not see this, or he may not respond, it may not work out.
Don't know until you shoot the shot.
Exactly. So I slid up and I said, hey man, just wanted to introduce myself. Like it's as simple as that. Just wanted to introduce myself. And, I'm a videographer out here in Nashville. If you ever need anything, I'd be interested in this shoot or other ones in the future. And didn't get a response for probably like 3 or 4 days. And then he DM'd me back and said, hey, I'm going to send your number to a buddy who's looking for the work. And little did I know, I had actually connected with this person through the other artist
Small
stuff.
world.
Right. So, and then that ended up creating an opportunity where I went out to Key West about a week ago and met another artist who I'm confident in that I'm going to be working with more consistently. So stuff like that, just
connecting the dots.
Connecting the dots with, you never know.
Shoot your shot and send DMs.
100%.
The whole reason I'm even in the music industry is because of a random DM I sent that, like you were just saying, I don't know if they'll see it. I just shooting the shot, from half court and beyond. And it's like, that's how most of the opportunities, a lot of my big opportunities have came about. Shoot your shot and see where it lands. If you don't shoot it, someone that's way less talented with way less skill is going to shoot their shot and get the opportunity because they are willing to put themselves out there. So any advice to any photographer or videographer that's not getting booked right now and don't have many clients on the table, just start DMing people. Send messages. My advice would be to send 5-10 messages a day. That's what I was doing early on in my career. Thankfully I don't have to do that every single day now. It wouldn't hurt. I'd still be having more opportunities, but early on I was doing that and getting left on red. Some people would respond and say, we don't need you right now, but it's still putting yourself in the mix, and that creates that energy, and that just at some point clients will come to you. It might not be the first 5 to 10 you message, but by the end of the week and you've sent 70 messages, someone's going to book you. That's going to be money in your pocket. So keep sending DMs. With how social media is now, and with everybody kind of watching everybody and keeping up with, the Joneses numbers and how content's performing, do you think that it's hurts a creative's, potential or their own work by watching someone too much? Or do you think it helps them in the long run? Or could it vary from creator to creator?
When you say watching someone too much, what do you mean?
Like, say for our instance, we do a lot of tour stuff. Maybe we're watching someone that's working with a bigger artist on a bigger tour, and they're doing more social media behind the scenes content and showing off their brand at the same time showing off the artist. And it's like, dang, I want to do that. Like, maybe you watch that person so much, or just with anything on social media, I've been guilty of it before, seeing people with hundreds of thousands of followers. Like, I want that attention. I've been putting in the work. Why is my work, and then starting to get discouraged on my own self. Do you think that can at some point become toxic to, people like us, or do you think it just kind of adds fuel and motivation to get to that point someday?
Yeah, not to have a cop-out answer, but it's a little bit of both. I think it can add fuel because it can give you inspiration on how you can position your content to bring more clients in or highlight what you do specifically. But when you're coming up and you don't have a lot of clients, or you're not big on social media and people wouldn't recognize your work or whatever, I think watching it too much or like looking at the numbers too much can really get in your head. Yeah, definitely. That's
so true.
Yeah.
And it's not as, when you get to the numbers and you get that kind of eyeballs, it's not as fulfilling and rewarding as you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, millions of views and so much attention on your videos is the goal, but then like, okay, when it gets that, then what? It's like, you just done? Like you're gonna retire? That's the main goal? Like, it's not. I've hit millions multiple times. It's like each time I get there, it's like, okay, I just want it to go up another M. It's like, okay, I have 3 million views on this video. I thought that was gonna make me satisfied and feel fulfilled, but now I just want more. The goalpost is always moving. So I think watching other people, like you said, it can be motivating and inspire or get ideas flowing, but it's not gonna, once you get to that point, it's not going to make you feel any more fulfilled. So it can be toxic, but I think you have to have a middle ground there.
Yeah, and I honestly think the unfortunate thing is it's unfortunate, but it's not, because it makes us do a little bit more work. But showing you, like, the big thing now, I think, for videographers is like that they all say is like, post you working, not just your work. And I think that is a very important piece that a lot of people kind of forget and are possibly scared of, like, doing. Because of the numbers, or because they may feel like they're going to be viewed a certain type of way, or they feel like the content's corny, or whatever the reason may be. But I think just getting out there and posting and like trying to get the ball rolling on that kind of stuff is super important for creating a brand and, like, creating a brand for yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely. Do you have a dream gig, a dream shoot, venue?
Venue-wise, yes. I think shooting something at Red Rocks is like
the ultimate goal.
One of the top of the lists as far as like concert venues. But yeah, there's a handful of artists that are out there that I would love to work with. Like, I've always, one of the first concerts I ever went to. The first concert I ever went to was a Post Malone concert.
Nice.
And the first ever concert that I shot through an incredibly lucky opportunity of just like reaching out and emailing was a Post Malone and Roddy Ricch concert.
That's sick.
So yeah, I mean, that the goal would be to shoot like a music video for Post Malone, because I've always just respected his work and his music and the variety of stuff that he does. So yeah, that would probably be the top goals.
Post Malone, holla at my boy.
Posty, what are you doing?
Y'all be sure to tag him in the comments. Red Rocks is it's been a bucket list venue for me.
Yeah.
I'm crossing it off in 2 weeks, so I'm so stoked for it.
Congratulations,
yeah,
that's awesome.
Austin Williams and Darius Rucker shooting both of them at Red Rocks July 25th. I think. So yeah.
What concert venues or what places have you been that have been like bucket list items that you've been able to cross off that you feel like?
Bucket list, I've done, so this tour that I'm on right now, we've done a lot of like really nice amphitheaters, and I can't say that like they were ever on my list to do, but now that I've done them, and like as I've been approaching that week to do them, I've done research on them, and like a lot of them are really like legendary. It's just not an arena that you just hear about all the time, or a Red Rocks, But for instance, the other week I was at, God, I feel so bad. You know how it is with touring. Like you forget the names of the places. But it was in Bethel, New York, at the on the same property as the original Woodstock Festival back in 1969.
Okay.
I can't think of the freaking. I'm not even gonna guess and say one because one's coming to mind, but it might have been the third night of that weekend run and not the first.
Okay.
So, might be wrong, but Bethel, New York, where the Woodstock Festival, that one was pretty sick. Bridgestone Arena, I got to do that one. I shot for the opener. That's who booked me, and I got the opportunity to actually shoot the rest of the show, and for the other artists too. It was Kevin Gates, Big X the Plug.
Oh, hell yeah.
DJ Chose, and then Justin Champagne, who was the one that originally hired me. So that one was pretty sick. And at Bridgestone, that was the first time I ever got to shoot Bridgestone. But man, I've shot so many. I've been fortunate, enough. I've been doing this now, music, for like 5 years now. So I've shot so many that they all just kind of blend. I can tell you more like artists than I could the actual venue.
Yeah.
But the big ultimate Super Bowl of them all that's always been since I got into the music was Red Rocks, and that's the next one. After the episode, they'll probably all come to my head, and I'll be like, bro, I shot at this one and that one, and I'll completely forget. But I mean, artist wise, the T-Pain, Snoop Dogg, those were two really good ones. I got a really, really big opportunity that's might be happening in the next 48 hours that I can't speak on right now, but if it happens, we'll insert a clip because this won't come out until after that's already happened. So
I'm excited.
That would be a huge one. But yeah, a lot of cool venues, cool opportunities. They all blend together. We were talking about mud parks. Like, I still feel like that was last year and that was 5 years ago now for me now. So it's, if you're really trying to make this into a career, if you're watching and you want to be a tour videographer, photographer especially, there's going to be a lot of travel. There's going to be a lot of late nights. There's going to be a lot of moments that just kind of blend together, and you just kind of have to be able to adapt and roll with the punches. If you can adapt 100%. In that kind of environment and do it well, you'll be good for the job. Anyone can go out there and take photos and videos and get better at that, but I can't speak for everybody. I would say the reason most people, one, don't get called back for tours or end up just leaving voluntarily is because they can't adapt well to that environment. It's not a normal, you show up on set and shoot, it's complete chaos. It's the same day, but everything's completely different. And, it comes down to being able to adapt in that and be a good hang in that, more than it does how well you can shoot. You got to be able to do your job at the end of the day, but you got to be able to live and operate in that environment. I'm sure you've learned that probably pretty quickly. Yeah, for sure. Although some of the environments you've been in at those mud parks, I'm sure have been interesting, and you might not want to adapt. There's definitely a lot of questionable environments I've been in, just stuff like that. But yeah, man, I think it goes along with what we were saying earlier, like the professionalism and understanding how to get along with, different types of people, different crews, while doing your job, and like staying level-headed and not letting the stress get to you, because it's gonna be a stressful situation, especially if you're shooting photo and video, which I believe you do. Yes, I do photo and video. Not the same trade, and people think it's just like, oh, you can just do both, right? And it's like, I can, but it's like you don't understand the dynamic. So it's it's a lot to shoot, to do both, especially if it's like a quick set, or if you're with an opener. It's a lot. If you had 0 followers today and you were just getting started on social media, what kind of advice or what steps would you take in order to grow your personal brand as a videographer? What steps would I take to grow my brand as a videographer? Was that 0 followers? No clients, 0 followers, but you had all the tools necessary. Yeah. Oh, if you had all the tools? Red camera. Okay. I mean, FX 2000. You have everything you need. Honestly, just going through like other videographers' social medias or other like lifestyle videographers and seeing what can I create that I can do on my own. I mean, there's a lot. There's so much to shoot in this world. There's so much video, and obviously like location can be part of it. But I mean, go out if you're in a city like, let's say, Charlotte. I mean, there's a lot of really cool lakes in Charlotte. Go shoot some boat stuff. Out here in Nashville, there's actually a pretty cool car scene. So go find some car meets and go do stuff like that. Like literally just whatever you see, go and shoot and film and
force yourself to get better. And if you don't have any clients, just create a reel for yourself. Just create something cool, because eventually someone will see it and someone will notice, especially if you're proactive with,
and that
just
kind of
stuff.
Snowballs,
100%.
My first professional photo was of a cow in my small hometown, an insert photo. And it was just like, just random. I got my camera, I took it out. It was like I just went driving, and in my hometown of good old White House, Tennessee, there was a lot of cows, and I seen one. I was like, freaking moo, snap,
Really?
posted, and then now I am where I am today. So it's just like, you never know.
Shout out to that cow.
Shout out to that cow. I hope he's still mooing around the pasture and doing well, because you helped me realize that there was a career there. There was awesome. A career there. What do you think young creatives are wasting too much money on right now, or time on? Because those are both equally dispensable.
Young creatives, specifically in what we do, right?
Yeah. Yeah. What's a young videographer or photographer wasting too much money or time on right now in 2026?
I don't know, man. I feel like there's a lot of things that people think are necessary when it comes to equipment.
Yeah.
I think there's some people kind of psych themselves out because they don't have the nicest camera, or they don't have the FX3, or they don't have the nicest lens, or they don't have all the ND filters they need for it. That stuff, while it does help, it doesn't dictate your skill level. It doesn't
gotta still be able to tell a story.
You still gotta be able to tell a story, and I think telling the story is the biggest part of it. So yeah, don't waste your money on all the extra fancy equipment. Find what you can shoot with, and that'll get the job done, and then kind of go from there. Because there's plenty of great things you can find on Amazon equipment wise. You don't have to have the nicest stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait for that point in your career.
I always make the joke, you can hand me a potato, as long as it has a camera on it, I'll tell a better story than someone with the red, Not everybody with the red, but there's someone out there with the red that don't know how to use the red and don't know how to maneuver through the settings of the red and get it properly framed. And it's just like, okay, you got a really big rig for what? You can't use it.
Exactly.
So it's that kind of answers what I was about to ask next, which was, does gear matter? And no, it doesn't. Sure, it can help. It can help. I was about to say it can help tell the story better, but I don't think gear itself can help tell the story better. It can help make it look better, more appealing.
Yeah.
Maybe get you, a little bit more creative shot, but at the end of the day, there still has to be someone behind the camera that's operating, that's directing, that's shooting, that's seeing it all and making it come to life. And I think that can be done on an iPhone, on a GoPro, on a Blackmagic, on a Red, or, on a FX3, anything. So it's I think if I was to answer that question, if someone's asked me that, I think it would be creatives, videographers, photographers specifically are hyper fixating on, I got to have the latest and greatest lens or the new Sony. And it's no, you just need to be able to tell a story with what you got. And if you can do that well enough, people will pay you enough to then you can upgrade the equipment. And maybe it makes it a little bit easier on you. You don't have to go through so much legwork to make it all come together.
Exactly.
So.
And I think an important thing to realize is, what vehicle are we using to put our content out there? We all, people in the social media world of videographers understand that, TikTok, Instagram, all that stuff doesn't actually upload 4K things. You know what I mean? So
it's not going to your local cinema.
Exactly. It's not. Realize where you're putting the content, and even who you're working for, if they really need that kind of stuff. I saw videos out there. Granted, social media is so subjective in some ways, as far as what people consume and what does the best. But I've seen a lot of videos and a lot of other videographers using iPhones. Just using their iPhones to put all their content out and even shoot stuff for the client. Yeah. iPhones are powerful enough nowadays, and they that general look that they all have is very is comforting, but also everyone recognizes and they're used to it. It's easier just to look at and be like, okay, you know what I mean? You know what I'm getting at?
No, it's easier to look at, and I think it's plays into where we're at in today's time, where there's so much fake stuff that's out online, where an iPhone shot video kind of clarifies, oh, this is real. You know, if it's too polished, if it's too clear of an image and cinematic, the viewer's almost kind of going through in their head, is this AI? Is this even real? So I think that's kind of why the more organic is coming back in, that stuff's performing better on social media, because people are tired of being, pushed and fed AI slop, and I'm guilty of it. I dabble with some AI. I'm not getting left behind, same. But it's I think the more organic. I mean, I've had big record labels here in Nashville request only iPhone shoots. Like, really? One person, I didn't end up doing it because it overlapped with the tour I was already on, but they wanted, and it was one of the biggest labels here in Nashville. They wanted just iPhone shot stuff. Like, I was still gonna bring my camera, but I don't think it was requested at all to shoot anything on the camera. And I'm just like, that's crazy. I'm sitting here with like 10K of cameras and bodies and lenses here, and you want something on my iPhone. But it's just like, it goes back to being able to adapt. Don't let your ego be so driven to where it's like, okay, I have all this equipment, I got to use this. If the client wants iPhone shot video, give them iPhone shot video. Still get your bag through iPhone. Like, it doesn't have to be. It's it's a weird space, because that's what we've kind of came up on, and higher quality is always one. But I think it's not that it's still not winning, but I think as a society, as a social media world, I don't know what you want to call it and classify everybody as, but as a cohort group, I think that's where it's dialing back to, and we have to be able to adapt with that.
Yeah.
Was there ever a point that you thought about just giving up on the video route and going and getting a regular job?
Yeah. And I'm a big believer in God, and I think that I was, like I mentioned earlier, there was a 2-year gap after college where I was kind of bouncing around from Kansas City to the place I went to college in, which was about an hour south of St. Louis. I was kind of bouncing back and forth around there, trying to find like a long-term job in the video space majority. But I ended up finding something. I ended up just like taking my chances and just going to Charlotte. And for 2 years, or for a year and a half, I was working as a server at a sushi restaurant. And I happened to, this is like just a blessing that this happened. This is, I believe in God 100% for this and many, many reasons. But, I happened to live 3 doors down. It's a great band. 3 doors down from the artist I work for now. You know what I mean? Sick. So like, that's how we met. And it was a situation where I met him on one of the first days I moved in. And sorry if this is kind of not answering your question directly.
No,
but
you're good, because I didn't know this.
Yeah, so
I'm
this is a great thing.
I'm just picturing moving in and finding out Lil Man Jay's my neighbor.
Yeah, and so I saw him down the hall, and I was like, "Is that Lil Man Jay?" I was like, "What's up, dude?" Went up and dabbed him up, and I could tell he was kind of like, "Dang!" Like, he had just moved in there recently. Spotted. He's like, "Dang, I've been spotted." And so I actually waited about 9 months, maybe almost a year before I actually approached him. And he was walking through the parking lot one day in our apartment complex, and I just got like this feeling in my stomach where I was like, I need to go talk to him. I haven't ever said anything because I didn't want to come off, pushy or like that guy. And then so I went up to him and I was like, "Hey man, I'd already done stuff before. I had a portfolio already ready. I had it laid out, the groundwork laid out to get that opportunity." And I said, "Hey man, this is my portfolio. This is the work I've done. If you're ever needing a videographer, I'd love to work, and we can work something out." And he's like, "Dude, I actually just put on my to-do list to find a videographer. I just lost mine like last week."
That's great.
So it was just like
God's plan.
100%. And we've been working together for over a year now, about a year and a half actually. So, and that just like catapulted my career. And like, I know your original question was, was there a point where you were about to give up? And yes, I was probably right at that breaking point where it had been a year and a half. I really wanted to do video stuff, but Charlotte was not a great hub for it. Mm-hmm. So I think if for other people out there who are like at that point, maybe a change of location, if you're able to, is the fresh start you need. Maybe, sending the DMs out, like more DMs out is what you need to do. Maybe going to a car show is what you need to do and just connecting with that. But like, you might reach that point, but if you continuously put yourself out there in a respectful and organic way, then something will happen, something will follow, and and this kind of goes back to delusion. You've got to be a little bit delusional in yourself and believe that it's eventually going to happen.
1,000%.
So yeah,
put yourself out there, go to whatever it is, that energy. I keep saying that just putting yourself in motion will attract things to you. So
100%.
So it sounds like you were pretty close to, giving up or at least considering it. And then and it's not even that in the moment that's your big break, or you feel like it and it's not the biggest thing you'll ever do in your career, but that's the moment where the line broke and, and then that catapulted you forward. And that's just, it's awesome to hear that. And it's because I'm always preaching about that. That's like, most people give up right before their big break. And it's not saying you're going to hit the jackpot and, land on a tour tomorrow and that be your big break. But the opportunity to completely redirect your life, your career, your path in this could be right on the other side of just right before you give up. So, just keep going 100%, always.
100%.
Bro, this has been fire. It's been a fire episode.
Yeah. I've had fun.
What's next? What's coming up for you over the next couple months? I know you're touring and stuff right now, shooting a lot of Jay's concerts, but
so I'm shooting a lot of his content and stuff, and then I've got a possible opportunity next week to go out to a country festival in Wisconsin. So that'll be a big gig. I've got some stuff going on with some other production companies, just like I was saying, just networking through them and just like helping them out, and just I mean, it's a lot of it's up in the air, but
goes back to the delusion.
Goes back to
it'll
delusion.
Work itself out.
It'll work itself out, exactly. So nothing super big on the docket right now, but I already know it'll fill out.
It always does.
Yes, sir.
It always does.
Yeah.
That was the hardest thing, like communicating to my parents when I first got started with this and doing freelance. Like, you have no set income, and I'm like, don't worry about it. It'll work out.
Yeah.
Like, the clients will come. I don't care if I have nothing on the calendar at the start. I know and this was speaking in then, like now I'm in a better place. Like, I have systems in place, but then I'm like, starting at zero, I know if I at least get this amount of clients, I'll be able to pay my bills.
Right.
I'll be above water,
Right.
And then it just, it snowballs, and then you have more delusion, and it always works itself out.
100%.
You have that mindset, that will be the reality that you get. Yeah. Hell yeah, man. Where can the people follow you, find you on social media if they want to get in contact?
You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and I've got some stuff out there on YouTube, like my music videos I shot on all at Shot by Eutzy. So Shot by Eutzy, Eutzy.
Shot by Eutzy.
Yes, sir.
Turn that into a song. Yes. Little man Jay, you listening?
What are we doing, Jay?
I'll leave you with this. If tomorrow you woke up and everything of yours was erased, all of your content, your contacts, your messages, everything was erased, but you could leave the world with one message, what would it be?
Don't sacrifice your morals for like X. Just stick to who you are as a person, and you will, like, when everything's gone, you'll be able to like stand on what you did and say, I'm proud of that. You know what I mean? I went about it the right way. I was respectful. I treat people with kindness. Do unto others as you want them to do unto you. You know what I mean? So that's what I would say.
Mic freaking drop, ladies and gentlemen. Guys,
Boom.
Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Creatively Connected podcast. Like I mentioned in the previous episode, we got freaking merch now. I don't have it on because it's in the washer and I'm really bad about doing laundry, but gotta hook my boy Thomas up with the shirts. If I got his size, we're running a little low. I've been handing them out left and right, but I got them linked in the description. We got a clothing line now. The I Don't Have a Real Job t-shirts are available. You can get the t-shirt, the hat, the hoodie, tank top for my bros or ladies. So yeah, go check those out. Linked in the description. I'm always getting, in conversations like, oh, what is it you do? I don't have a real job. So I figured, what better way? I've been wanting to roll out a clothing line with Creatively Connected since I started this. And I was like, what better first drop than to have I don't have a real job.
Yeah, that's a great one.
So, we got those available. You can get those linked in the description. I appreciate you guys so much. We're coming every single week with new episodes with talented creatives, photographers, videographers, artists, any type of creative really that has a cool story and experiences to share with us. So make sure you guys are tuning in, download, subscribe, like, follow, whatever it is all the cool kids do these days on all these social media platforms. But thank you guys for tuning in. Thomas Eutzy, everybody. Make sure to go follow him, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.